cruel, inhuman, and degrading. That's how a scathing 23-page report from an independent investigator describes conditions at the United States' notorious Guantanamo Bay Detention Center.
The suffering of those detained is profound and it's ongoing.
The report's author, Finua Neal-Lean, is the first UN independent investigator to visit the detention center since it was created 21 years ago. Part of her mission? Assessing the rights of detainees past and present at Guantanamo Bay.
I received all requested access to former and current detention facilities.
She reports that conditions have improved substantially since the first detainees were transferred, but she is still expressing serious concerns about what she saw during her visit.
The Guantanamo Bay detention infrastructure entails near constant surveillance, forced cell extractions, undue use of restraints, and other arbitrary and human rights non-compliant implementation.
Guantanamo Bay opened in the wake of the September 11th attacks off the shore of the United States to house detainees of the George W. Bush administration's war on terror.
We're getting vital information necessary to do our jobs, and that's to protect the American people.
But many detainees never faced criminal charges. Its existence has faced backlash for years, from protest in the streets.
We are not afraid!
To the Senate.
Guantanamo Bay is an international embarrassment to our nation, to our ideals.
Then Vice President Biden supporting his boss Barack Obama in his goal of closing the camp.
Do you think that you'll succeed in getting Guantanamo Bay closed?
That is my hope and expectation.
Now, years later, President Biden still trying to make good on that expectation. In the last 21 years, nearly 800 men have been detained there. Now, down to 30. And according to the UN report, 19 have never been charged with a crime.
Guantanamo Bay is and always has been a human rights disaster.
Wells Dixon has represented Guantanamo detainees since 2005, including Majid Khan, who pled guilty in a military tribunal to terrorism-related charges and spent more than 16 years at the facility before being released earlier this year.
Majid has described his time in Guantanamo as death by 1,000 cuts, arbitrary rules, inconsistent rules, punishment for no apparent reason, deprivation of rights, lack of medical care.
The United States saying in a submission to the UN that it disagrees in significant respects with many factual and legal assertions in the report, but that it will review the recommendations and take appropriate action. A spokesperson for the State Department admitted that torture occurred at Guantanamo, but insists highly skilled and trained physicians are now providing care for the detainees.
The special rapporteur said that we have not provided adequate rehabilitation to torture victims at Guantanamo. I would say we are sensitive to the unique medical, including physical and psychological needs of the individuals who remain in detention at that facility.
As for Dixon, he says Guantanamo Bay never should have opened.
My hope is that the Biden administration studies very carefully the findings and conclusions of this report and takes them to heart. And if the administration does that, then I am confident that it will be able to close Guantanamo.
And with that, Ellison Barber joins us now live from our top story studios in New York. So, Ellison, the big question is, the recommendation from the UN report was to close Guantanamo Bay. And as you mentioned in your report, right, the Biden administration has said they would do that. Joe Biden campaigned on that. So why hasn't it happened?
We asked the White House that exact question today. So far, they've deferred us to the State Department for additional questions about this specific report. But look, here's what we know. President Biden, as you said, he has said he wants to close Guantanamo. But right now, there is not a concrete plan to do that. One current and one former administration official previously told NBC News there have been discussions about a possible executive order to further reduce the number of detainees and close the facility by the end of Biden's term. But Congress passed a law in 2015 banning the transfer of Guantanamo detainees to the United States. So they say another country has to agree to accept these people, and that has been a challenge here. But look, lawyers like the one we spoke to, they say Guantanamo could be closed today, and countries like Belize and Saudi Arabia have shown they are willing to accept these detainees. Tom?
All right, Ellison Barber with that comprehensive report tonight. Ellison, thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.